Hello everyone, Teacher LaShawn here. So I've been meaning to do a follow-up video. I was actually in my YouTube videos and I was taking a peek at some of the videos I had done when I had first started with VIPKid. So I've been with VIPKid now since about August. I think I signed up in late July into August. Um, and my initial videos that I posted show my journey, show me having little to no bookings, showed me wishing for bookings, what I do in between bookings, and that was a journey up until the point where I'm at now, where I have little to no time to really even do videos. And so that is a great thing. That shows the progress that I've made since being with VIPKid. To date, I've taught over 300 classes and um, I've actually taught over 100 students so far. So that's a long way from the little one or two or six or seven classes that I had taught, and I was just excited about. I'm just excited now as I was then, um, and I just continue to grow with VIPKid. When I started this journey, I really didn't know where this was going to take me. I really didn't know what to expect. I kind of just took it and said, okay, well, I've always wanted to teach, and I had the certificate of eligibility in my state. You need what's called a certificate of eligibility, and I had gotten that a long, long time ago. But life gets in the way and you just don't pursue the things that you really know in your heart that you really want to pursue. And so I didn't. I ended up in different fields, banking, finance, and the medical field. And I really didn't know if I was ever going to be able to teach. But this opportunity came along and I have taken it and run with it. And it's just been wonderful for me. Initially, yeah, it was a little bit discouraging because I was sitting there, and if you look at some of my earlier videos, um, I would open up slots because the way that this works is that you would open up a slot, and if parents book you, then you'll be able to work. If they don't book you, you don't get paid. You're actually literally just sitting like on call, just waiting to see if someone books you. And they literally have up until about 15 minutes before the time that you've chosen or time that you've opened to book you. I've actually experienced my very first class ever was a trial class and it was booked 15 minutes before the time. So that left me about 15 minutes to learn the lesson and get it down packed and, take it from there. But like I said, I've made progress. I just told you my stats: over 300 classes taught, over 100 students. And earlier in the year, they actually gave me um, stats about the number of cities in China that I've actually reached out to. I don't remember that number. I'd have to kind of like go back and look, but um, that's amazing. The mere fact that I can actually teach from the comfort of my own home. And, um, it's a great thing. The other part of that is I was kind of at the time, when I first started, I was kind of getting my feet wet. And so I heard of this other company called DaDa ABC, and I decided to kind of give it a try because what they offered was more, get more stable scheduling, whereas you didn't open up slots. The VIPKid is more flexible. DaDa ABC or DaDa now is they have like a set schedule during certain time frames. And I just wanted to try it out and kind of see if that worked for me. Unfortunately, it really didn't. It didn't work for me at all. I was a little confused, and I actually made a little list because I didn't want to just kind of ramble about them, but I kind of separated the good and the not so good. The good is that you have a set schedule. So for those of you who need a set schedule, you need to know that, these are the hours I'm going to be working and I'm definitely going to, have this set schedule, then that's for you. I had the set schedule. I tried it out. I'm not sure that a set schedule is for me because God forbid something happens and I need to close the slots. I can do that with VIPKid. If I open up, like just this morning, if I opened up to work from 10:30 and again at 11 o'clock, and then I realize, you know what, 11 o'clock is a bit too steep tonight because I have other things I have to do, I can close that 11 o'clock slot and, not be penalized. With DaDa, that's not acceptable. Once you sign up for a slot, that's it. The other thing was live teaching. I noticed that they had live teaching, so you can actually literally click on, they had a screen full of teachers, and you would click on it and you would be able to kind of just be a fly on the wall in their classroom. I thought that was like an amazing, amazing feature. The only thing is that it was the same teachers. I would see the same teachers all the time. And so for me, I was like, okay, well, where's the variety in that? Like, how, I mean, I don't know if these were like the top teachers, and that's fine, but how do we learn and grow if we're not seeing a little bit of everybody, the good, the bad, the ugly? So I was a little leery about that. They had stats, so that was a good thing. They kept stats as well, but their stats were so confusing and you could never really understand, well, how did they come up with that number? What is this about? How do I compare with this person? Or why is my number this high like today and then tomorrow I'm looking and it's like this low? Like, what does that mean? And you never really got a clear understanding. It was just totally confusing. Um, the other thing was the curriculum. I actually ended up teaching one. I had one student, and that's the other thing. When you get students with them, those students end up becoming your permanent students. I started off with a student, and I had one student, and I taught maybe 3 lessons with that student, and then there was a holiday, and after the holiday, the student didn't come back. And actually, I did have another class. It was a trial, or what I thought, and that was the other thing. I didn't understand what that class was. So there was such a lack of understanding as to what I was teaching and who I was teaching and what this meant. And the other part was how to teach. Coming from the VIPKid curriculum and teaching, you have literally 25 to 30 minutes to get those slides done and to get the lesson conveyed. With DaDa, I wasn't sure if that was the same case, and it wasn't until I actually watched one of the teachers, teacher LaShondra, and I realized that you don't have to rush through the lesson. You can literally kind of teach until, the 30 minutes are up, and wherever you stop, then that's where the next teacher, I guess, would pick up. And nobody really explained that. So that was a little discouraging because it's like, okay, here I was trying to rush through a lesson with this particular, student, and I didn't need to do that. So it's like, I did myself a disservice and I did the student a disservice, and nobody was there to kind of coach me or explain to me, hey, this is how you do it. So that was a little discouraging. The part for me that kind of was like the straw that broke the camel's back, or the cherry on top, was the customer service. Initially, when you sign up, you have somebody call you. I had somebody call me from Shanghai. I was like, oh, I'm getting calls from Shanghai. All right. And, checking on me. How's everything? What do you feel about this? And I was like, this is great. And then after that, nothing. And I had some concerns. I actually sent an email. There was one particular time, there was a holiday. I'm new. I'm a little confused about the holidays. Should I sign on? Do I not sign on? Their verbiage is just so, okay. So here's the thing. If you are going to be teaching, having an American staff on board or an international staff, there needs to be a representation in your own staff so that you can convey messages, culture-wise, you need to be able to convey those messages to the culture. So the same way that we're expected to kind of really acclimate to the Chinese culture, if you're going to have an American staff, you have to be able to convey messages to the American staff in the way that American staff would understand it. And I didn't feel like that was happening with DaDa. I don't know if they just didn't have American staff Americans on their staff, or whoever, Canadians, whoever was representative of the company. And it kind of caused a lot of confusion. So if I would send an email and say, hey, XYZ happened, I would get a response of GHLM, and I'm going, what? But that's not what I'm asking. Um, I've signed on and sat and waited for students when I really didn't have to. So it ended up being like a waste of time, because during that time frame where they were actually on holiday, the message was never conveyed that you don't have to sign on. So literally, I could have taken that time as vacation, and no one really conveyed that to me. So with customer service, the communication, in terms of the leadership, there's not a great, well, I didn't experience um, clarity within the leadership. And um, so ultimately, I just decided that number one, at one point, I didn't have any students, and I would just literally sit there. I'd be sitting there for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, um, doing nothing, really, just going in, looking at the live teachings, and time after time. And my shift was about, I think, 1 o'clock in the morning until about 3 in the morning, and then it became 2 to 4 when the time changed. And to get up that early in the morning or in the middle of the night and to just sit and do nothing and have nothing to do, that's a little discouraging. Um, so for that reason, I kind of made the decision that I would just stick with what I have with with VIPKid, and kind of explore more of what VIPKid could offer me as opposed to kind of going off and looking at other companies. So in a nutshell, that's kind of why I left. The process in leaving was really, really tough. It was really tough because, they are big on, DaDa is big on telling you the rules, what you can't do. You can't do this. And if you do this, then you're going to get penalized. And if you don't do this, then you're going to get penalized. And you can't do this and you can't do that. They seem to be really big. Like that was like the culture. I didn't really experience that here. I haven't experienced that here with VIPKid. They laid out what they expected, but the way that they run their company is geared more towards rewarding the teachers and making sure that we are happy and we want to be there and we want to teach, as opposed to telling us what we can't, and we can't, and we can't do. So that becomes a little discouraging. And that's what I experienced on my way out the door with DaDa. It was like, well, if you do this, then we're going to have to charge you or penalize you this many, yuan. And I'm like, okay. And it was just a lot of red tape to kind of get through in order for me to leave the company and, without being penalized. And it was just so frustrating after a while. I was just like, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. I don't know. Maybe down the line, they'll make some improvements and they'll hear what some of the teachers have to say, because I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that has had something to say. And not to say it's a bad company, they're a really good company. It's just there's some things that need to be tweaked. And there needs to be a definite culture shift, and a definite better communication, better communication. Um, so yeah, that's why I left. Um, Other than that, like I said, I've just been really flourishing with VIPKid. I'm pretty sure that there's so much more that I could do. What I love about them is that they are constantly showing you how to improve, how to get more students, how to improve yourself, taking more certifications, training. Granted, there's some, things that I'm just like, what? Scratching my head. And there was one certification that I wanted to take, and I took it. And okay, I always say I'm not a perfectionist. I'm really not. I just like to master things and I like to gain understanding so that if I am not doing something the proper way, I'll take note of your notes and I will go back and make sure that I do it the proper way. Now, if I go back and I do it the proper way, and you come back and tell me that I did something else different, wrong, now I'm getting frustrated because I'm like, okay, you told me to do it this way, I did it this way, and now you're telling me to do it this way. It, I don't know if there's like multiple people viewing your mock demos, but that becomes a little like confusing because if I am watching a demo and I am supposed to, basically give my assessment, I'm giving my assessment. I give my assessment, the person goes back, makes the corrections. When that comes back, that should come back across my desk because I'm the one that gave the assessment. So I don't want someone else viewing it because they may have another perspective and give another assessment, and then it becomes totally confusing. So that's kind of like right now my only gripe with VIPKid in terms of getting certifications. So just recently, I ended up taking a certification 3 times, and all 3 times I did not get approved. And something told me just by reading the feedback that it was 3 different people that assessed. I don't know. It made me, I was discouraged. Basically, I still haven't gone back to do the assessment. So I don't know what that's about. Since then, they've actually created another one, and it's the BAE 2. So I'm working on that. I'm working on it slowly, and I don't know. Stay tuned. I'll give you some an update on how I did. But I do love the fact that, like I said, when things were super slow for me, they came in and they saw it and they said, look, if you take this assessment, if you take this certification, which was level 2, this is what's, excuse me, you have a better chance of gaining students. I took the assessment. I took the certification. I passed. That day I passed. That night, bing, 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 back to back bookings like never before, and it hasn't stopped since. And it triggered something because the where I was at level 3, 4, and 5, now my level 3, 4, and 5 people were actually seeing. I guess I was picking up volume, and I was getting out there, and my followers increased. I have over 100 followers now, and it's just a great thing, and I don't know where this is going, but you know, I don't even want to say sky's the limit. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Stay tuned. I will come back and talk about how I actually transition out of my full-time job of commuting every day to the city, and still while I was doing this. So stay tuned. If you like what you hear, if you want to hear more, if you like to hear the sound of my voice, if you like my purple hair, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And if you have any questions about how to become a VIPKid teacher, reach out to me. I'm at teacherlashawn, Instagram at teacherlashawn. You can DM me, you can send me a message. I sometimes go live on Instagram, so check me out. I'm learning and growing, with this company, and you get to sit back and have a front row seat and watch me learn and grow. So stay tuned. Take care.